In a world where one woman tries to start a podcast,
how will I ever do this on my own?
she thought she would have to get expensive equipment.
What? I can do all of this on a free app?
She thought she would have to find creation tools all over the internet.
You mean it can all be contained in an app on my phone and computer?
She thought she would have to do all her own distribution.
You mean to tell me this app is going to send it to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and all those other platforms for me?
She thought she would never make any money.
I don't have to wait for a minimum listenership to monetize?
She thought that she would have to find all kinds of different equipment and pieces.
But I'm going to download this free Anchor app and get started today.
Visit Anchor.fm and download the free Anchor app to be just like her, the ultimate podcaster.
Hello and welcome to the Lou Review. I'm your host, Rosa, and today my guest is Ted Mitzlaff, the owner of Goodwood Brewing. And could you tell us today, Ted, what makes Goodwood stand out amongst other places you can go to get beer and bourbon in Louisville?
Yeah, well, we're sort of a three-legged stool. We have started off as just a brewery, a production brewery, and did a lot of barrel aging given our proximity to distilleries, so that was sort of a natural. Then we launched our first beer barrel-aged bourbon in 2019, where we took the used beer casks and finished a bourbon. First bourbon we did was a 12-year bourbon. We finished that in the beer cask, and it did really well in the market, so we thought we're on to something. Then we added food the same year, so when they come to Goodwood, they're going to get great food experience, wonderful beers, obviously truly unique spirits, and then we do carry something of everything. We've got something in the pipeline that's real exciting. We're going to have wine here in the next month.
Are you going to do everything there? Oh my goodness.
Well, we're actually, the wine we've contracted in California. So,
yeah, and so this is not just a Louisville-only enterprise, right?
That's
there are
correct.
Goodwoods in other locations. Where did it originate?
Yes, ma'am. So the brewery in Louisville was the original building. We bought the company in 2005. It was really small. And then we grew it and grew it and grew it. I took it over in 2013 as managing partner. And we rebranded. We were the Bluegrass Brewing Company.
BBC?
And, yes, ma'am. And we were licensing the name from Pat Hagen, who owns the brew pubs. And then in 2013, we decided we needed our own identity. We were growing a brand that we didn't own, and for a multitude of reasons. Plus, we were Goodwood. We were known for our barrel aging. So we worked with Doe Anderson to come up with the new brand, and I think it's just a home run. So we really were ramping up starting in 2013, and now we have facilities in Louisville. That's a real small restaurant. Then we have a full restaurant in Frankfort. That was our first brew pub outside of Louisville.
Okay.
Then Lexington and Lexington Green. Then we took over a brewery that went out of business during COVID in Indianapolis called Ram Brew Pub. So we converted that to a Goodwood, and then we took over another brew pub in Columbus. Okay. So we now have 5.
Now, would you say the Goodwood in Louisville has the least amount of food options as far as the smallest food menu? Is that right? Did I hear that?
It is. It's a more scaled down food option, and it's a little different. We focus more on smoked meats and quick, easy serve, because when we get crushed in Louisville. So you have to be able to get the food out quickly. And our other places are more full. Spectrum, everything from salmon to steaks to buffalo cauliflower, you name it.
Oh, that's awesome. I love cauliflower wings. Not particularly buffalo, but I like barbecue cauliflower wings. My friend came with us to Goodwood the other night, and she has to eat everything gluten-free, and she had a great salad there.
Good.
And so we were so excited that there were good options there for her, and she was very happy with it, because that's always kind of a toss-up. Is this place going to be accommodating to people with various needs? And so we were very pleased with that.
Well, good. Yeah, and we always try to keep a cider on, which is gluten-free, and then obviously we have different spirits and other things if someone wants to still enjoy alcohol without the gluten.
Yeah, it was really great. We had a flight of beer. We had a flight of bourbon. Usually I prefer the bourbon to the beer, but in this case, those nutty flavored beers were just really doing the trick for me. So we also got to explore the back room. It looks like a great place to have a party.
Yeah, the event space is really neat. It's an overflow for busy nights, but we've had a lot of high school reunions. In fact, both Luke Hancock and Mike Mara, who played for the University of Louisville's 2013 championship team, both those guys had their rehearsal dinners in that room.
2013 is a good year for you.
A lot happened.
As I recall, that was a busy year. All right.
For sure.
Well, how did you get into this, Ted? Did you always now hopefully you didn't know when you were a little boy, oh, my life needs to revolve around alcohol. But
well, sadly, in my senior year in high school, in the yearbook, it said, when I grow up I want to ... and it said own a brewery.
Oh,
so,
okay. Well, I don't know if that's sad because it sounds like you're living your dream.
Yeah, for sure.
That's
and then
good.
In college, I went to school at the University of Richmond in Virginia. And Virginia is an ABC control state. And I realized quickly that their selection was very limited on bourbon, and their liquor stores closed at 6 o'clock. So I thought, well, there's probably a pretty good market for this. So when I came home, I loaded up as much bourbon. In fact, it was W.L. Weller that would fit on my credit. But then it was $16 a bottle.
Whoa.
So I bought as much as my credit card would hold with a little left over for gas money, and went to school and doubled the price and sold out in 2 weeks.
Well, my goodness.
So
That's a good side hustle.
Yeah, I started off as a bootlegger, I guess.
I hear that. Okay.
And then,
what's the statute of limitations on that?
yeah, right. Well, hopefully it's more than 25.
Expired.
Yeah. And then, then several guys. We bought it was a production arm for the Bluegrass Brewing Company in 2005. And I was just a cheerleader. I had a chemical company with my family, and then I had ended up getting
chemicals?
cleaning and sanitation of food processing plants.
Oh,
So we were doing cleaning of breweries and pork and chicken processing plants.
Oh, wow.
But so I learned the brewery kind of on the backside.
Wow.
And then in 2013, the company was kind of in a ditch, and the managing partner that we had, it wasn't working out. So they asked me if I would take it over, and I did. So here we are.
Okay, I have two questions that are totally unrelated. So on the one hand, does that mean you have the cleanest breweries because you know about everything so we got to keep them clean?
I'm very particular, and our guys have pretty stringent protocols for quality. So I'm a chemical engineer by degree, so I'm a nerd, and
great.
So it's great.
Yeah, that is helpful. Now, circling even further back, when you said you wanted to own a brewery when you were 18, what had gotten that idea into your head?
I think I had just discovered beer, and we were just having fun, and I thought, what would be a fun career? My father was an entrepreneur.
Oh, okay.
So I thought,
what did he do?
He had a glue business. He had several restaurants. He had a radio station and a metal fabricating company, and he had started this little chemical business. Yeah. And he thought the chemical business had potential if I was interested. Otherwise, he was kind of selling most of his assets. He was retiring down to the Florida Keys. So I thought, well, maybe I'll get into that. So.
Yeah, so that must have given you some good insight into all the different dynamics that play in owning these businesses and managing the people.
It certainly did. It certainly did, and the risk reward, and for sure. So he was a great mentor, and my father-in-law was a great businessman, a wonderful mentor. So I was very blessed.
That's wonderful. So where do you see Goodwood going here in Louisville in the near future?
Well, we're certainly continuing to really focus on sales in Louisville at other bars and restaurants, groceries. We just are opening about, I think it's 67 Kroger locations throughout the state. Certainly that's on the beer side. On the spirit side, same. We are looking at 2 locations in Louisville for expansion, and pretty excited about those.
To be producing your product, or just to be as like places for people to gather.
Yeah, more on the restaurant side.
Okay.
We passed some legislation a few years ago which enable breweries and distilleries to sell their packaged products, and to self-distribute. So I can open a restaurant. We can bring beer from our production facility. They can, if someone likes it, they can buy a 6-pack or a bottle of bourbon. We've also launched barbecue sauces that are beer-infused barbecue sauces. So
enjoyed quite a few of those.
Yeah, I love it.
On the wings, not cauliflower wings, but like actual chicken wings. Those were amazing, by the way. Like, I'm not a big chicken wing person, but those were some of the best wings I've had in a long time.
Yeah.
So it must have been the barbecue sauce. It was so good. So if you go to Goodwood, you guys that are listening to this, you have to try the wings. You just do. There was spicy mango habanero, I think. And then I had the honey barbecue sauce, which was also beer infused, I think.
All of them are beer
Bourbon
infused.
Okay, beer infused, yes.
Yeah. And then we have a stout, which is really, really hot. If people like, it's over 1 million Scoville units. So it's made from ghost peppers. Then
Are
we
you
have
sending it in the hot ones for them to put it on the show?
Absolutely, yeah. Well, we were just in a festival, a hot food festival in Ohio.
Oh my gosh!
So and then we have mild sauces as well.
Yes.
We have the full spectrum.
Yes, I must have had the milder ones because that's what my tolerance level. But yeah, that's good that you've got a whole bunch of different irons in the fire there, and it'll be interesting to see the new stores opening too. That'll be exciting.
Yeah. So we're looking at the Louisville locations, and then we have Owensboro, Bowling Green, and Union, Kentucky, all in the works.
Are you looking to franchise those out, or are you like maintaining all those?
We'll maintain them all. We will offer a portion of those for investors if they're interested in getting in on those without having to get into the entire company. They can just get into those local, which is great. And the Owensboro and Union will be very similar to our existing locations. Bowling Green's going to be a little different. It's going to be more focused on adult play. We're going to have duck pin bowling. We're going to do...
Okay. I'm glad you heard clarifying with a list of what that includes.
Yeah. It's a large space. It used to be a Sears building.
Oh, wow, that's huge.
It's huge, and it's indoor and outdoor. We're going to have outdoor shipping containers with bars and bathrooms, and we're going to do a foot pool, if you've ever seen it. It's a huge pool table on the ground. It's AstroTurf, and you play pool with soccer balls.
Oh my gosh, that sounds so fun.
Yeah.
Which location is this?
This is Bowling Green.
Bowling Green, okay. That's halfway to home for me, so I might have to check that out. When does this open? I need to go.
We don't know yet. We're still working with the architect and getting all the pieces in line. Then you have the supply chain issues right now as well.
Well, yeah.
So,
but I need you to tell me when this is happening because I need to go. This sounds so fun.
We're hopeful late spring,
Okay.
so we'll see.
Oh, that's not long.
Mm-hmm. And then we're also doing a kind of a high-end bourbon bar speakeasy in Frankfurt.
What?
Right around the corner from our existing restaurant.
Oh, not in the basement or the attic.
No,
Okay.
we have a basement. I thought about it, but it floods from time to time.
Ooh.
So there's a really neat. There's a lot of renovation going on in Frankfurt. A lot of beautiful old buildings. Mm-hmm. So some friends of mine are doing an Airbnb downtown with I believe 16 or 18 rooms, and they considered doing a restaurant on the first floor, but it's really not a big space. So after some discussions, we decided let's do a high-end bourbon bar.
Nice.
And we're going to do that in a speakeasy in the back, and then
but it won't get too loud and boisterous for the Airbnb people that are staying above it.
Exactly.
Good.
And then if people want to order food, we'll have a QR code, and they can just order from Goodwood since it's a block away, and we'll just run food, if anybody is hungry.
Yeah.
So it should be fun.
Yeah, there's a lot of good things I feel like that came out of the pandemic, including the access to food delivery from so many different places like that. Do you think that's something you would have considered as easily before?
It certainly opened our eyes.
Yeah.
You had to be creative to survive, and it's crazy times, and hopefully we'll never have to go through that again.
Right.
But you learn a lot, and we certainly did.
Yeah, learn to think outside the box in a lot of ways, right?
You have to survive.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for sitting down with me, Ted, and teaching me so much about the history of Goodwood and your family's connection to all this. So it was nice getting to know you. And so if you have not been to any Goodwood location, obviously you have lots of options. If you're in Louisville, they have an East Main Street location right now. And they can follow you on Goodwood NULU to see the local updates on Instagram. That's at Goodwood NULU. And then follow Lou Food Reviews to see when I go check out these other locations because they sound exciting.
Yep.
All right. Well, you have a great rest of your day, and we will see you in the next episode.
Thank you very much.